Coming up this weekend, Davey Grant loses to Adrian Yanez in a questionable split decision. Louis Smolka loses to Vince Morales by first round TKO. And the loser of this fight goes home. Alright, so realistically, we're looking at a fight that's very strange because for Davey Grant, long periods of inactivity, comes off of the long periods of inactivity, starts to finish guys at 135, then he fights Marlon Vera in a very good fight, then he fights Adrian Yanez in a fight where, okay, it's a split decision, but it was ridiculous. Two of the judges, Eric Colon and Junichiro Kamijo, scored 29-28 for Adrian Yanez. They scored round 1 and round 3 for him. And Judge Tony Weeks decided, you know what? I know I'm in that picture with all the blood on me, but I'm going to score this one 30-27 Davey Grant just to make things spicy. That fight was not a 30-27 Davey Grant fight at all. MMA decisions, all 12 people that scored it, they all scored it for Yanez. It was very, very weird. It was a fun fight regardless. And for Louis Smolka, we started, if you watch the intro to these full card videos, we start them by talking about things that are pertinent to the fights. And for Smolka, an interesting run. He had a main event against Paddy Holohan in Ireland at one point. But the first run in the UFC, while it was memorable, wasn't the best. Goes outside of the promotion, starts fighting bantamweight, winning fights, comes back in, beats Sumit Ergi, and it's been so since. I know he's 2-3 in his last 5. That loss to Vince Morales kind of opened people's eyes because Vince Morales, not a giant power puncher. Louis Smolka, never been knocked out in his UFC or in his overall MMA career.
Has been dropped, though, on numerous occasions, to be fair.
But there's times for firsts, and that was one. And for Smolka, that fight against Vince Morales, we're starting to go back about 5 months ago. So, Matt, I love this matchup. I think it's going to be a really fun fight, but this is a must-win fight for these two guys.
Without a doubt, but they are in different stages of their careers. For Davey Grant, he was having a weird resurgence. Like, he was a grappler, won a lot by submission, had a bit of a karate background, but we definitely did not see all of his striking. And then he started knocking people out with really nice boxing combinations, too. And I do like the unique style of Davey Grant. There's not a lot of people who fight like Davey Grant, to be fair. He's one of those fighters who just sort of falls into his own category. Like, you couldn't drop the Davey Grant square into anything else on that game where all the yellow ones would pop up. Was it uh-oh?
I don't know.
I think it was uh-oh. Yeah, the timer? Come on. Anyways, for Davey Grant, other than Father Time catching up to him, I don't really know what Louis Smolka does better than Davey Grant in any one area of martial arts. I know he's the superior offensive grappler in some areas, but if we do just break down both guys style for style, well, with jiu-jitsu, Davey Grant's not one to get controlled very often. He's very good at getting back up to his feet. He can sweep and get back into an offensive position. He is very sound with his own defensive grappling. Whereas Louis Smolka, he's one of these peaks and valley grapplers where he'll look really good in some opportunities and then he'll look really poor in some other positions. On the feet, though, I agree 100% with what you brought up. Vince Morales is a good fighter, but not known as a power puncher whatsoever. And he was able to flatline Louis Smolka in their matchup. I do feel like we are starting to see some of the defensive liabilities of Louis Smolka rear their head a little bit. Like I said, he was someone who has been dropped in the past. I always go back to the Mateusz Nicolau fight. I know Nicolau, that happened a little while ago, but Nicolau dropped him 3 or 4 times in that matchup. Like, it was almost concerning by the end of it, where you were like, hey, we could stop this at any moment. So I am kind of worried about, are we starting to see Louis Smolka slow down, and are we starting to see his durability get chipped away at? Because Davey Grant's been in hard fights in his last 2 fights, but he had a fight of the year against Marlon Vera, and if you know anything about fight of the years, it takes 2 to tango, so he must have had a fairly competitive fight with Marlon Vera, and it was. He lost. I'm not going to sit here and say I think Davey Grant beat Chito Vera, but he made a very good account of himself in that fight for being 36 years old. And like you said, did he beat Adrian Yanez? No. Should one of the judges give it to him? No, but again, he looked really good for being a guy who I almost wait for Father Time to just creep up and hit him on the shoulder. He's been able to look like the same fighter throughout his last couple losses, where I do feel like Smolka doesn't look like the same guy at this stage.
So I'm going to go on a callback. Just put me in a mental pretzel. Wasn't Uh-Oh the show that had Wink Yahoo on YTV where they used to go live?
Is that the weird... Okay, I can't believe I'm about to say this. Is that the weird one where they'd have like the gimp throw people in a slime pool?
Yeah, that's that show. That's that show. If you're Canadian, things are going to get funky, froggy, fresh.
I was thinking about that. That guy had the worst haircut ever. He looked like Jim Carrey with the mask on. And yeah, I swear to God, they had a jacked gimp throw kids into a pool with slime.
It's like, isn't this The Undertaker? But we can't call him The Undertaker.
No, he's like the Undertaker from Pulp Fiction in the basement of the convenience store. This episode went off the rails, but if you don't know what Uh-Oh, the TV show was, it was for kids, but it shouldn't have been.
Well, I remember they went live in Moncton, New Brunswick, Canada. I think it was at Magnetic Hill, and it was like, I could go there, only they probably filmed that 6 years ago. So there's no way I can go there. I can still go to the zoo and Magic Mountain.
Magnetic Hill's nice.
Winky Yahoo! Let's give a host a name. He had the most ridiculous hairdo. Let's bring it back and get kind of funky fresh again. Davey Grant in this fight coming in, and listen, it hasn't been good the last two. Obviously, for Smolka, he gets a win over Teko Quinones to send him out of the UFC. So for Davey Grant, open to minus 275, at about a minus 280 or thereabouts. For Louis Smolka, at a plus 220. If we have a look at the Tabology votes, surprise to us as they are to you, I'm going to say over under 65% Davey Grant.
I'll say over.
I know he's a decent favorite, but apparently everybody has him. 587 total votes, 89% Davey Grant, 20% by decision, 71% by knockout. For the 11% that have Smolka, 52% by decision, and a 22% knockout margin there. Matt, what would Wink Yahoo do?
I don't want to know.
Nightmare fuel.
Yeah. Again, I can't stress how many drugs the creators of this show were on when they made it. It was very twisted. I like David Grant in this matchup, though. Here's the thing. The results might be different his last two times out, but the fighter isn't. He still looks like the same guy, and I do like that he is still durable in his last two fights. We know how hard Adrian Yanez and Marlon Vera both hit, and the fact that David Grant was able to stay competitive with those guys, even later into that fight, was very telling, as Craig remains thinking about a gimp on TV. Whereas Louis Smolka, I worry about him every single time he gets hit clean on the chin, and I do think David Grant has a decided edge with his power punching.
Why TV? Like, I was 9 watching the show.
That guy Carlos got the job at 19 and he kept on hosting till he was 55.
Now he's on E. Like E, the TV network. E Canada.
There's
Carlos.
10 people who run the TV in Canada and they're on every show.
Get me on television. But no, I agree with you. I do have SBG, Bishop Auckland's own Davey Grant in this matchup. Again, we talk about Team Oyama coaching Carlos Barza to a second straight strawweight championship. And listen, you also have Frank Camacho on this card, who's heavily favored to lose, and I guess so is Louis Smolka. But I do like Davey Grant mixing it up. Very, very good in both aspects. And once Davey Grant's on top, Louis Smolka can struggle in bottom positions. I know that was a career hallmark. It was against Casey Kenny, and I kind of fed that fed horse
Until it died.
until it reared its opposite head, not ugly head, opposite head, because Smolka was able to get off a bottom position, win a fight, that against Teko Quinones, but for me, I do like Grant here. So, I'll leave it here, both of us going with Bishop Auckland, England's own.
There's a multiple-headed horse in there somewhere.
Davey Grant to get a win in the weirdest Fight Night Picks video in the whole 4 years of the channel. Let us know down below.
Uh-oh!
Your most beloved memories of that show growing up in Canada. If you did, if you're an American, look into it. And we've got a big time card coming up with 2 light heavyweight fights remaining. Keep it locked in with Fight Night Picks. As we always say,
Let's get into it.